Hi, everybody. I am so excited for our live tonight. Let me just go ahead and let everybody in. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. So excited. Let's see. Let me let Bethany in. Hi, it's good to see everybody. Hi.
Hi. Good to see everybody.
Yeah,
Good to
I'm
see
so
you, friend.
excited. It's good to see you too. I'm so excited for our conversation with Kerry.
I know. It's going to be amazing.
It is going to be amazing. Kerry's amazing.
Absolutely.
She is like, I don't know if you remember, but we fangirled so hard over Kerry. Like when we first found her page and she started interacting with us, we were like, oh my gosh. So it just feels really cool that we're friends with her now. Yeah, so we are going to be talking about red flags and rose-colored glasses. So as soon as Kerry, she is at Kerry Life Coach, gets in, we will start the conversation.
Yes. Oh, someone's from Portugal. That is one of my favorite places ever. I
Oh my
love
gosh.
Fado. I love Fado.
Yeah,
It's my jam. And
I
those
know I've
darn
heard you talk about
pastries.
that.
Oh, I'm sorry. And those pastries I love.
Yes.
So, okay, who said, "Oh my gosh, never knew you were a girly girl"? Is that for me? Is that for Hillary? Do I look really girly? Do I?
Huh, maybe it's like the floral. I think it's probably the floral pattern. You don't usually wear a lot of florals.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Maybe. I
Maybe
don't
that's
know.
it. Oh, Carrie just said she tried to join. Hey,
Okay,
Adam.
let's.
Glad that you like the
Oh,
memes.
got you, Carrie. Sorry, that was my bad.
Hey, from Kenya. Okay, Guaya. Okay, I'm really struggling with that. Where is
Oh,
that?
first time here. Hello.
Hey,
Welcome.
hi, Stark Tech. We appreciate you. I think your name is Mike in real life. I think. Orlando. Yes. Oh, Nikki, don't be mad at yourself, girl. That's what we're going to talk about. I think there's something that people, it just happens. Hey, from Texas.
Okay, let me
All
just
right,
invite Carrie over
Hillary
here.
is troubleshooting, so I'm just gonna keep up the combo. What platform we're live from? Instagram. And okay, Ecuador. Wow, South America. Okay, I understand now. Okay, Ireland. Siobhan, such a pretty name in the middle of a messy divorce. This is where to be. Hey, Chris! Oh
Oh,
my gosh, one of the funniest commenters ever. Christian Oda, right there. Love him. Aw.
okay.
Wisconsin,
Hold
Connecticut.
on. I'm sorry.
Oh
Here we
my gosh.
go.
We love that you love our memes. We work really hard on them. And like the love
Here.
that you show us is amazing.
Yay!
Washington, D.C.
Woo!
Yay.
How
Hey,
are you?
Carrie.
How are you all doing?
We are
Good.
good. Sorry about all that.
Oh, no big deal. It's Instagram, getting
Got a
on.
mind of its own.
Just a little bit of a juggle.
Yes. Well, we were just telling like everyone that's in the live, like how much we fangirled you when
Uh,
we first started chatting with you from your
Yep.
platform. Like you love our content. Like you put out so much helpful information about, recovering from a traumatic relationship and just all the resources and all the positivity that you're always putting out there is just amazing. So we are so excited to chat with you again because this is I think our third live that we've done with you, which is
yeah.
amazing.
I always enjoy talking with you. We always have such great conversations. We get into
Yeah.
deep stuff that can really help people. And
Hmm.
I love the topic that we're going to be talking about today.
Yes, us too. It's a very important one, especially in
Mm-hmm.
the space that we're in. So for everybody that is joining us, Bethany and I are joined by Kerry. Her username is at Kerry Life Coach, and she is a life coach for women that are healing from toxic relationships. So she posts a lot of inspirational messaging, a lot of informative messaging, like all surrounding if you have been in a relationship that's involved trauma or anything with narcissistic personality disorder or emotional abuse. And she's just a source of amazing knowledge and amazing encouragement. And we're just so excited to dive into this conversation about dating red flags and the rose colored glasses that we wear. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, before we
And
jump in,
and
I
I
know
think
Bethany, oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say, I know you
yeah,
wanted
no,
me to
I was
shout
gonna
out.
yeah, I'm gonna jump in. So one, I think I want to just add that like what Carrie posts is also about men to I think applies to men as well. I mean,
Yes.
certainly I think it's common in this world for women to be maybe more inclined to reach out for help and community and all of those things. But, you know, what we're going to be talking about and Carrie, your expertise, I think knows no bounds really. And I think, would you agree with that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it goes.
Okay.
What I talk about in my post goes for everybody. I have a lot of men that I'm really close with, and DM and tell me their thoughts, and I give them tips and things. It's just most of my clients are mainly women. Doesn't mean that I wouldn't
Yeah.
work with men
Yeah.
go. Just men go through it the same as women do.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. So, all right. Well, we're going to start the rapid fire, but before we start the rapid fire, I need to shout you out. I need to shout out my Penn State
Woohoo!
love.
We are.
Okay. If you know me, well, you don't know me personally, a lot of people, but I love Penn State. That's my alma mater. And I just accidentally found out that it's also Carrie's alma mater. So I
Yeah.
just needed to do that for the record. So, Carrie, love you.
Yes. Hey, I remember when I
You Penn
evaluated
Staters.
like 88, 80,
Yeah.
something way long ago.
It's okay. It's still within us. So, okay. Well, all right. So I'm going to go with the rapid fire questions. So, Carrie, I'm going to ask the questions and then you just give us your quickest answer.
Hmm.
Y'all can comment too in the chat. And then I'm going to ask Hillary the same questions and she's going to, or I'm sorry, no, I'm going to ask the question. Carrie's going to give her answer. Hillary's going to give her answer. And that's how we're going to go. And I have about 6 questions. So you ready?
Hmm.
Ready.
All right, here we go. I am not looking for anything serious. If someone says, I'm not looking for anything serious.
Oh, well, that's a red flag if you are. But
I
sometimes two people, neither of them looking, just want companionship, and it works that way too.
Okay.
yeah.
Hillary, what do you think?
My initial answer is red flag, but I think it depends on the context that you're having this conversation. So if you're
Yeah.
like Carrie said, like if you're chatting with somebody, it's a red flag for somebody that's looking for a relationship. But if
Hmm.
you're chatting with somebody who's not, um, it's not necessarily a red flag, but the problem is I feel like people aren't honest from the get-go.
Hmm.
And sometimes that's not anybody's fault. I think sometimes we don't really know what we're looking for. But like I feel like sometimes and not all the time, and this is just me speaking from like my own personal experience, when someone says that, it just to me is like saying like I'm not gonna like it's kind of like almost giving them a hall pass for if like things start to turn a certain way, they can be like, well, I said I wasn't looking for anything serious, kind of thing.
Hmm.
I mean, and not all the time, but like I feel like sometimes that can it
It's a
can be
really
that
good
way.
point. It's a really good
Yeah.
point. Okay, here's the next one. They only text 2 or 3 times a day. If you have an established dating relationship, they only text 2 or 3 times a day. Red flag? No.
That could be a red flag unless they're an ER doctor and in there and they can't break away. And if they're in some intensity like that, that definitely can be a red flag. And especially if you start getting texts once a day and then you're getting ghosted and then all of a sudden 3 days later they bombard you with texts. To me, that's a huge red flag. Never
Yeah.
be somebody's convenience.
Yeah.
Be a priority.
Yeah.
Oh, I
I
love
would
that.
I would say initially not a red flag, but again, you have to know that person's like texting like habits, I feel like I don't know, like
It really is texting habit.
yeah, it is
They're an ER doctor. If they're in
right.
at a job, sometimes it's hard to text.
Right.
It really is the pattern of what you have together that
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like if you
Yeah.
notice it, like I think that's the really good point is like depending on what your previous experience with this person has been. And if it starts to dwindle and there's no real reason for it to dwindle, and then and I think sometimes like in your gut you just know that something's off. So yeah, like there's a lot of gray, I think, in
Right.
that
There's a lot
line.
in some of this because some of my clients, they're on the dating apps and they start off like love bombing, texting all the time, and then they don't hear from somebody. And then all of a sudden, 5 days later, they're hearing all the time. And we talk about, are you just there when it's convenient for them? That's
Yeah.
not really right. So there is a lot of gray in some of this.
Yes.
Yeah. All
Absolutely.
right. Next question is they talk badly about their ex.
Every book I read on narcissistic traits, that's a number one red flag.
Is
Right.
it?
Did this. My ex was, the nightmare. And that's the common denominator, what you see a lot when they're just totally bashing exes.
Yeah. I would also say a red flag because I was on a date somewhat recently where like it was just all bashing of the ex, and I kind of was like, I kind of want to talk to her. Like I kind of want to know her opinion because this feels like a lot. But yeah, I think that that's a yes, red flag.
Okay. All right. How about they say, I don't really feel comfortable defining the relationship. Like, let's just see where things go. I'm fluid.
Well, that could be a red flag. Do they have fear of deep commitment? Are they one day they're saying they're into it, the next day they're saying they're not? And once again, it goes to what do you want? Are you, dating somebody for the potential of getting into a serious relationship? Then that's a huge red flag. Then maybe that shouldn't be somebody to go on a second date with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Hillary, what do you think?
I would say red flag too. Like even if like you truly are coming from a place of like, let's see where this goes, and I don't know, like I still feel like it's like a hall pass in a way. And I still feel like it's like, okay, well then maybe you just aren't certain about me, like how you feel about me. And I don't know. It's hard because like I don't want to be love bombed, but like I also don't want to not be prioritized. Like I don't know. I feel like it's somewhere in the middle. I don't know if that was a straight answer, but I think I'm on the fence
Yeah.
about that one.
It's good.
Well,
Okay, this is the last one. What if they say that um that they don't really have like a good relationship with their family or like, really close friends, that they're kind of a loner?
that can be, you know, sometimes we need to find out the whole story, right? Because somebody could just have had a black cloud over them in life and sometimes
Hmm.
misfortunes.
Yeah.
However, it can also be a red flag in some ways. Is it because that person isn't very nice? That person is controlling. That person is manipulative. So, or is it because the person's extremely introverted and just pulling away from people? Then it's something to ask yourself, well, is this aligned to what I want in a relationship, right? So sometimes we need to get a little more excuse me, clarity before we can really label something, ooh, that's a red flag.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think for me, like thinking about myself, I feel like that would be a red flag for me in dating someone personally because
Mhm.
I have a very strong friend group. I have a lot of like I'm close with my family. I have a lot of other important people in my life, which is something I've been really intentional about building up like after getting divorced because it can be easy to lose yourself in a relationship. So I don't want to be responsible to be somebody's everything, and I don't want that person to be my everything either. And I've learned that the hard way. But I think that for me that would feel like a little bit of a red flag for me even but I can see where there could be certain exceptions to that if they're particularly introverted, but I would lean towards red flag.
It being a red flag. Well, this was really good. I mean, I think what this demonstrates is that, there's so much context, right? I think early on in a relationship, there probably is a lot of space for picking up and identifying the red flags. But they happen throughout, and
Yeah.
so, it just goes to the complexity of all of this, right? And people are really hard on themselves for missing red flags. But I think, like, I just am seeing in your responses that it's so nuanced that you really can't, there's no true guidebook or map, for doing it. So yeah, okay. Well, so I'm going to just jump into a question for you, Carrie.
Sure.
Because maybe I'll tell my own red flag story later. But why is it so easy to like overlook red flags? Why are people like the idea of rose-colored glasses, right? We just want to, see the best in someone, or what is it that makes us, even when we see some of these things, give a person a pass?
And I love that you're starting there. Just let me give you a little background, right? I grew up, and you would think it was a white picket house. My father was an alcoholic, had a lot of narcissistic traits. So early as a kid, I learned not to be seen, not to be heard. Oh, analyze his moods when he came in, right? Did I need to be quiet? Or it could have been the other extreme, being the people pleaser of trying to make him happy, trying to make him smile, doing this so I got noticed, doing that. So really early, I didn't know what red flags were, right?
Yeah.
And then when we got into the 80s, nobody talked about this. So a lot of times I repeated the patterns over
Mhm.
and over, and I was always in long-term relationships trying to make it work. And now I look back and I was like, holy cow, it was loaded with every red flag in the
Yeah.
book. But I was unaware because that was my normal, right? That
Yeah.
case was my normal. I didn't know healthy relationships. So sometimes we got the rose colored glasses on because we just aren't aware. Where
Mhm.
our normal is unhealthy, our normal is chaos, our normal is red flags, and that's all we have. So we learn patterns of, trying to get loved, trying to do that. And when it starts so young, it gets into abandonment issues, it gets into neglect. And that's sometimes why we try so hard. Because the thing that's so hard about these narcissistic relationships or toxic relationships, it's not that it's abuse all the time, right? You have that intermittent, like, kindness, being mean, being kind, and it gets that
Mhm.
chemical addiction going on in your brain that you're wanting that little bit of that breadcrumb to feel
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
to somebody. So sometimes it has to do with that. And then sometimes we can also live in a false narrative, that we want it so desperately to work out. We want to be loved. We all want to be loved. We're human. I want to be loved. Everybody wants, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes we didn't sign up for it. And it's a lot of times the people that have so much empathy and they have so much love to give, we want to give a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance. And then next thing we know, we've been trying to do it for a decade.
Yeah.
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 And hindsight's always 2020. Like I look back on my own marriage and I see them
Mhm.
all so clearly. Um, and it's just it's hard when you're in it, like you were saying, Carrie. Like
Mhm.
I think that, and I'm not saying this for everybody, because you can have a red flag with somebody who's, not necessarily toxic, but I look back on some of the things with people that are manipulative. It's so hard when there's like because they know you well, right? Like you were vulnerable with them and you share details about you. And so they know how to get to you. So it's usually like there's like a thread of truth usually throughout, this like very complicated experience of interactions. And so it becomes very hard to know, is it a red flag, or am I just being too sensitive? Like I feel like I was always asking myself that question when I was married. Like, am I just too sensitive,
Mhm.
or why am I feeling this way? And it's just, and it when it persists for so long, it's like you kind of like start to question your own judgment. And I think that a lot of us, when we get out of these toxic relationships, we feel like, her pickers are really off in a big way. And so, I
Yeah.
think that we have to give ourselves a lot of grace there.
Yeah. I mean, like, I really wish there was like a comprehensive list of red flags, right? Like one
Yes.
source of truth. We should work on that. Like,
Yes.
and
It
we
would be
like
go on forever.
exactly, and we just assign like different risk levels, like they do with like hot sauce. Anyway,
Well, one
so
thing,
we
one thing you mentioned is, there's all different types of narcissistic type of personality. You get the grandiosis that stands out loud, that everyone's like, oh, but then
Right.
you get the covert, and the manipulation and the abuse is so subtle. Like,
It
and
is.
it's like little, like, what do you mean you think that way? Well, how stupid is that? Or really, you think that's important, or you have something so important because you achieved something at work, and they're like, well, why are you making a big deal out of it?
Oh my
And
gosh.
like,
Yes.
it's that takes a little piece out of every day, and that's what that, especially like a covert type or a malignant, they're very, very smart, and they're masters of manipulating. So, I know in my own situations, I didn't even realize it. I went
Oh,
years and I was clueless and didn't even realize how bad it was until I started becoming aware and educating myself and doing workshops under Dr. Romney and, Dr. Nadine and different, and really learning and then seeing the cycle, the blame game, the isolation, losing your friends, losing yourself.
oh my gosh. Yes.
It's so hard to understand because it's not like a regular breakup. It's not like a regular relationship that if you haven't experienced, it's really hard to explain to somebody. It really is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And if Oh no, I was going to say, if you take like those little bits of experience too and you pull them out, they don't
Mm-hmm.
seem that bad in real time, right? It's like this over time that you start to like weave it together, and it's like you said, it's very complicated. Like when you were talking about that, I can remember like my ex-husband used to say in like a really joking, like funny way, like to like my son and to me, like, oh, mommy really loves calories, mommy really loves things with sugar, you know what I mean? And like because he
Mm-hmm.
would like hint around like, oh, I think you're eating too many, or
Mm-hmm.
too much of something or whatever, and I would always be like, oh well, I mean, I have a sweet tooth, I guess, but like I didn't think it was that bad. And it's so you kind of just start to look back and you're like, shit, like what's wrong with me? um, and that's just one example that I thought of, but I think
right.
to your point, they are disguised so like
They are. It's
just sneaky.
I kind of call those micro dismissals, the roll
Hmm.
of the eyes, the or the or mocking you or putting you down indirectly, and then in front of the kids, oh, I'm just teasing, oh, mom's so sensitive, I'm just joking.
Right.
You take a joke.
Yeah.
Or even the triangulation, right, where you know you could have, I have a client and the husband um has the child there, and she's there, and the husband will go to the child, well, tell your mother she can just go outside and meet me in the car. But she's standing right there. That went on
Right. Oh,
20 years,
yeah.
that he never would give connection eye to eye. Or the back is never, that you get the back of the head when you're talking and no acknowledgement. And it's just a blank wall. That's
Yeah.
pain.
Oh, it
Those-
is. It's so dismissive.
It's like the silent pains that are just, it's terrible. And that's why
Right.
we lose ourselves so much.
Yeah, and I mean, what's interesting is like what starts as a red flag, really, becomes all of these other things
Mhm.
that we kind of just get conditioned to the extent that it's a habit almost. It's a habit to like, to dismiss that kind of, treatment, or to even explain it away, like, oh, daddy's just, or mommy's just being funny, or mommy, when she, she has her wine, she says crazy things,
Mhm.
that kind of thing, to normalize it for the family. Like, I think that
Yeah.
that's also a really interesting aspect of red flags, is that, the way that they set in, and then you make excuses, and they become habits, and it's a lot. So, well, we got a really good question, that I do want to ask you, Carrie, and that is it a red flag to share your traumas too early in a relationship. So this goes to what we talked about earlier, or what you and I, what we were doing in our prep about self-awareness, right? Knowing if you're the red flag or what red flags like we bring to the table, and our behaviors and those kinds of things. So the question, that someone posed was, you know, am I sharing my childhood trauma too early? Like, is that something that it might make somebody run away, I imagine, but how do you respond to that question?
Well, I'm glad we're talking about this because the most important thing is for all of us to protect ourselves, right? And until we fully know we can trust the person we're dating and that they don't have a lot of narcissistic traits, it's important to protect yourself. Because if you start dating and you, one tactic of somebody, and I'm going to talk extreme narcissism because it comes in all, medium, different traits. But someone that has a lot of that, that's what they go right after. They go right after to find out where your weak points are, to find out where your sensitivity is, to find out where you're vulnerable, right? Let's say you had a bad childhood trauma with your mother and then you start getting in a serious relationship. And then, this is, I've heard it numerous times. It's turned around. Oh, you're just like your mother. How could you be like your mother? Ugh, I'm disgusted with you. You talk bad about her and look, you're doing the same thing. It becomes an attack on you. So, so make sure when you open up, and I'm a big believer, it's always important to talk about your trauma. We need to work through feelings. We need to work, but make sure it's a person that you fully trust. That's not going to turn it against you. Be with a therapist, be with a life coach, be with a best friend, someone that you fully trust, not somebody in 2 weeks that you're feeling you got the ultimate connection ever in life that you've ever had. Because those are a little bit, that could be love bombing too, that we just need to see where it goes. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No, it does. And that's one thing that Bethany and I talk about a lot with not just like romantic partners, but like friends and
Any,
anybody that you're just meeting. It's like you kind of have to, we always say you have to see a person through an entire season, like an entire
yeah.
like
Uh,
year of seasons.
Mhm.
And to know if you can trust them because, I think we've all had experience where we thought we knew somebody or if we thought something was going a certain way and then it just changes or, whatever. But I think that that is a really, really valuable point, especially when you're sharing parts about yourself that make you feel really vulnerable.
mm,
So your
yeah.
Yeah.
vulnerability is a gift.
Yeah, and it is a gift, but it's also, I think of a good reframe is they need to earn your trust because who you are and what you've been through and your experiences is part of who you are. And that is a trust and a friendship that somebody really needs to earn. And they need to, in a way, deserve to hear it because you have that relationship. It's two-sided. It's not just you doing everything. And unfortunately, sometime in life, we have a good friend, but then time happens, people move, and sometimes that changes. But sorry, my dog's
I
whining
know.
here.
I thought it was a kid at first, and then I remembered your dog. Yeah.
I know.
Big
He
old
wants
here.
attention.
I know.
But one thing is a lesson I learned late in life is really Bear is, is really
He is
going with your
agreeing.
going with your gut feeling. Okay, he's singing. I got Scooby Doo under here. But go with your gut feeling. If something doesn't feel right, then it's probably
Mhm.
right, and believe that. That took me a long time to really learn.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Trusting our guts,
Yeah.
especially after divorce, because it feels like, I mean, all signs were pointing to like, we made the perfect decision. This is the right decision. And, we talk ourselves into, affirming that,
Mhm.
because we've, had this entire, we sent out invitations. We had this big party. We've done all these things. And so, your gut, when it starts speaking to you, we sometimes create a habit where we don't listen to that,
Mhm.
anymore over time.
Yeah.
And so, I think, Carrie, one of the things that you are really good identifying as trauma and how all of these things
Mm.
happen. So when, when ignoring red flags potentially leads to a trauma bond, that's a really dangerous place, isn't it?
I've been in trauma bond myself, and I think one thing is important for people to know when we're stuck is that it's a lot more. It's not because of a weakness. You can take the most strongest man and woman out there, and once we get stuck in that trauma bond, it feels unbreakable. It's really, it becomes an addiction. There's even some psychiatrists now and neurologists doing studies saying that the addiction they believe from trauma bond is even worse than heroin addiction, right? And so it's relearning that reward pathway that goes for getting the praise, right? And then we get knocked down and we get the praise. So what happens in our brain is that we're knocked down, we feel a little depressed, we feel terrible, and then we get a little happiness. It could be so subtle that we're releasing,
Hmm.
right? And then we feel really good and we want more of that person, and we can't live without that person, and we can't do anything in life without that person. And I'm going to have to try, right? And and to really start breaking it, and this is a whole nother thing that's a really deep conversation, is start calling it out. That's not really love that I'm having for that person. It's the trauma bond.
Hmm.
Really start breaking that trauma bond down. And it's just it's so much more. But when we don't see the red flags and we ignore it, it gets us deeper and deeper, and it's so hard to break that trauma bond, and it's so possible, and it's doable, and so many people do it, but it's definitely hard on us to do that.
Hmm. And I guess one follow-up question I have, and I'm sorry, I have so many questions. I'm
No.
just naturally curious. And Hillary, like, jump in because I'm, again, I'll ask
Mhm.
questions all day, but I'm just curious, like, so when a person is trauma bonded with someone, and are you even in a place to have a renewed relationship with someone? Like, is that again, is that kind of where self-awareness becomes really important, and knowing how you're presenting to someone and how your habits might actually be the toxic habits in the relationship that are going to maybe ultimately tank it.
It's you know breaking that trauma bond is a lot of patterns we have to relearn in our brain and rewire. So coming out of any toxic relationship, narcissistic relationship, a lot of psychiatrists, like Dr. Romney, and just studies, they would say a lot of times it's a good year to be on your own and to heal and to understand what your patterns, because when we were in the toxic relationships, we had patterns that we were doing that weren't healthy for ourselves too, right? Of one-sided relationship, always being the one doing the work, always, we were responding, trauma response to make things more peaceful, but it made our life really, really terrible. So we need to learn, we can't control the other person, but we can learn what we were doing, what were our patterns that weren't healthy. Always putting yourself last, never putting your needs first, never paying attention to your emotions, surviving in survival mode, just making life pass as best we could, right? And so it's important. We're not only getting aware of the red flags and the abuse we've been through, we're getting aware of our patterns and what is our responsibility in the healing. Because nobody can make us heal besides us, and it's a lot of work. Healing's a long process. I have some clients that I'm still on 3 years. They're doing fantastic. I'm so proud of them. They're proud of themselves, but they still have areas because they were so financially abused, even though they've been separated for 2 years. They still have some areas that they feel guilty even to go buy themselves something they need, right?
Oh.
So even though there's different areas of abuse, we got emotional, physical, psychological, financial, verbal. And so even in the process, we are still healing, and it can be years after that, and that's okay, right? And what we always say, sometimes they get really triggered, and I leave my texting open 24/7, because when somebody's triggered, I know how hard it is, and they can contact me. I'll do free calls on the weekends
Oh,
because I don't want them to be by themselves. But it's so important for people to understand, when you're triggered, it's really a teacher. There's a part that hasn't been healed yet, and there can be so much pain, especially if you've been in these relationships for decades, even if it's just 2-year relationship, that you buried so deep and you've put down and ignored, that as you heal, new things might surface that we need to feel, work through, understand.
yeah, that's so amazing, Carrie. Like, you have such a big heart, and I think it's so, like,
It's
we need more people like you in the world. But
what people go through. I know
yeah,
how hard it is, and sometimes you feel so alone because it's hard. What I found in my situation, it's hard because a lot of people don't understand it.
yeah,
Right? You're with
that
some,
was
they're like, oh, he's not that bad. He's really nice. Nothing's,
right.
because so much of it's behind closed doors. If it's not a grandiose type personality, and behind closed doors, that's even makes you sometimes feel like you're the crazy one, because nobody else is seeing it. Maybe I'm making
Yeah,
it. And then you go through that guilt, the shame, oh, I'm the crazy one. And then they contribute, making you feel like you are more too.
yeah. Well, and it's just like what we
Mhm.
were talking about earlier, just like when you pull out certain examples, like they don't always seem that bad if you try to explain it to somebody who doesn't really understand the nuances of what emotional abuse are or
Mhm.
is. And that can also be invalidating for you, like a person that's going through it. So if you, for anyone that's listening right now that is, suspicious that they're experiencing things like this in their relationship or is scared to get help, what would you suggest is a good first start? Like, do you have any books you'd recommend or any resources you could point them to? Just
Doc,
anything.
Dr. Ron has a fantastic book. I think it's called "It's Not Your Fault," and it's
Okay.
all on that. So that one's really good. I have a bunch of books I could pull out over there. But I think what's important is, I used to keep tallies when
Mm,
things happened, to see how much I was put down, right?
yeah.
So, because when I would try to contest it, it would always be, I'm the crazy one, I'm making things up. So I keep little tallies, and the next thing I know, in 1 month, holy cow, it happened over 20 times, right?
Yeah.
And then that gave me feedback. I think it's important to keep truth lists, because in these relationships, we hold on to hope so much. We're human. I did. Everyone does. We want it to work. We didn't ask for this. So a lot of times, in the denial of it, we're justifying, we're tolerating, we're making excuses, right? So the
Hmm.
truth list needs to be the facts of what, if you had 20 people in the room, and I say this all the time, if it was raining, everybody would say, that's rain. It's facts. How hard it's raining could be an opinion if you live from Florida to, North Carolina. But to keep a truth list of what's really going on. So when you're getting into the cognitive dissonance, that clinical term, when you get two mixed messages, you could be getting emotional abuse from somebody, and then the next moment, I love you so much, I really didn't mean that, and then it's again, right? And you're getting that. So start writing that, because when you get confused, go to your truth list. This is the facts that's really going on. Abuse doesn't mean you're getting it 24/7, okay? Abuse, it can be 50% of the relationship. Abuse is abuse. It doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. Physical, emotional, all of it. It's abuse. And so when you can really start understanding and then see the patterns, how often are you getting blamed for things you didn't even do? I can't tell you how many times that we could just be talking about a TV show, and all of a sudden they love it so much. I'm like, it's okay. Next thing I know, a fight's going on, and then I'm like, you're attacking me and you're accusing me of that my show sucks, and I'm like, holy cow, I didn't even say anything. And then I'm like, what did I do? And then we're just confused because we don't have escalates. It's crazy, right? So keep the patterns, but then, what I have people start doing is once you start getting an understanding of the patterns of the relationship, then I want you to start thinking, how are you reacting? What are you doing? What your response healthy for you? Right? A lot of times we live in so much fear that we don't even respond because we're too scared to. We're on eggshells.
Yes,
You know?
absolutely.
So that's avoiding because of fear, or that's not saying something important that might be important to us because of fear. We don't know how they're going to respond. So if you're always living in fear, that's a huge red flag. It's to anybody, it's a huge red flag. No matter how great that person might seem on some days, it doesn't matter if it's a boss, a family member, friend. All these red flags go across any relationship, and that's important because we could
Mhm.
be getting abused by a boss that wants control over us. One thing everyone needs to, the number one thing with abusers is they want control, they want manipulation. They usually are very insecure, even though you wouldn't know that, but that's what drives it a lot. They usually feel very entitled. And there's tons of other things that would go off of the, I'm not a psychiatrist, so I can't ever diagnose, but I can talk about the traits. So under what a psychiatrist would diagnose, there's quite, numerous things to check off. And you see that in all the different variations, whether a person's toxic or they have narcissistic
Yeah.
traits. And to me, education's empowerment. You get more educated, you start to understand it's not
Mhm.
me. You start to
Yes.
stand up and set little simple boundaries of don't talk to me that way, and you learn one thing that's important to remember, these relationships, not like a healthy relationship that you might get in an argument with somebody that you could sit down with reason. In these relationships, one of the number one things in your toolkit should be don't engage, go no contact, gray rock, talk about the weather, soul protect, soul distance, protect your soul. Anything that means a lot or hurts a lot will be used against you somewhere down the road. It always does. If somebody has a lot of these traits. So there are different things. And a lot of times the best thing is going no contact, but we don't all have that opportunity in life to go no contact.
Mhm.
It could be an aging parent that we're caring for. It could be a marriage that we're in from religion reasons that they feel that they go no contact. Or it could be a 40-year marriage that you feel that you can't, right? And whatever's right for you is right for you, but there's still tools that can help you make your life better. Finding purpose and getting yourself into things to create happiness within.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Carrie. I mean, I think the beautiful part about the way you answer that question, it's a great ending for us because it talks about how to walk away from a red flag, right? Which I
Mhm.
think is something we have to actually practice
Mhm.
doing because many of us, I can only speak for myself, right, have practically run towards the red flag like it's a sale at Target or something like that. And so, thank you for encouraging us to be educated and to have the strength to say, don't talk to me that way or to walk away.
Mhm.
And as something my dad always would say is you got to nip it in the bud. Um,
Agree with that.
Mhm.
got to nip it in the bud, which is something I'm working on because one of the first relationships I had out of my or after my marriage, we were talking about just wellness and like our habits and all of those things, and I was saying like I'm really grateful for my therapist, and the person that I was dating was like, oh, I don't need therapy, and I was like, okay. And what did I think right after that? I was like, oh, I can convince them. Like they just are scared of it. Like, hello, Bethany, what are you doing? What are you doing? And sure enough, that was the time when it should have been nipped in the bud. So thank you for affirming that, we do have it within us to protect ourselves, to walk away, and that should be a priority. Even,
Hmm.
but before it goes down the road, if it's possible, right? A lot of us are, of course, healing. So, Kerry, before we go, will you please tell everybody where they can find you, how they can connect with you, and anything else you'd like to share?
You can always DM me on my Instagram account, Kerry Life Coach. I have a website that you can, send me a message through that. If anybody's struggling from this and you want a free mini session, I will offer that if coming from you all, just to help you
Very
gain
kind.
clarity. With that, just when you DM me, just say that you listen to our live Instagram. And the last thing I would just want to say was probably the biggest lesson in life that I've learned from all my toxic relationships. Never lose your worth. We are all worthy, and the only time we lose it is when we give it to somebody. And holding on to your worth is going to keep you from losing yourself in another relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a place to go. So just hold on to your worth. You're important. You matter. And just hold on to it.
Oh.
Thank you, Carrie. It's always such a lovely time talking to you, and we just are so appreciative of everything that you share and everything that you are putting out into the world.
No,
So,
well, I've always your page. I love you too.
Aw. Thank you,
thank
Carrie. Thank
Have
you
a
for
good night.
encouraging us.
Bye.
Yes, absolutely. And
All
for
right,
everybody
everyone. Have a
that
good
missed,
night.
yes, and for everybody that missed the whole live, we'll be posting it on our account tonight, so you can watch the whole thing. And if you have, like we said, if you haven't followed Carrie, you should totally follow Carrie at Carrie Life Coach. And we will see you all later.
Right.
Thank you for tuning in. Thanks,
Bye, everyone. We'll see you
Carrie.
next week.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.